Hello there, and now I'm going to describe birth chart arrows. Most of us have got arrows in our birth charts. Now I'm going to give you a demonstration of what I mean. I've got a date of birth there, the 30th of December 1964, which is incidentally my birthday. Right, thank you. I know I don't look it. Now, so we've got there a 3, a 0, which doesn't go on. We've got a 1, we've got a 2, so that's 30th of December. We've got another 1, we've got a 9, we've got a 6, we've got a 4. Now, let's look at this. 3 together, arrow, 3 together, in a line, arrow. So this line here, 1, 2 and 3, is the arrow of planning. What does this mean? It means I'm a natural planner. I don't have to think about it, I don't have to read about it. I have natural skills of planning, which I do. Now the other one, the 3, 6 and 9, is intellect. It's the intellect arrow because it's in the thought areas here, sunlight and air. So I'm intellectual. I'm very well read. I read every day of the year. I never stop reading and learning. That's where the intellect comes in. It doesn't mean that I'm an intellect as such. I'm intellectual. So anybody with that arrow will often have a large book collection as such. So there are my 2 arrows explained. Now, we've got the 17 arrows, or 16 with a non-arrow. I'll explain the non-arrow at the end, the 0 arrows. And I'm going to go through the arrows now. So first one I'm going to, you've got your chart in front of you. The first one is the arrow of determination. Now that would be a 1, a 5 and a 9. So there, it looks like that. So if you've got a 1, 5 and a 9 in your date of birth, you're going to have the arrow of determination. Determination. There we go. Yeah. Now, it says what it is on the can. You were born determined. You're a determined bunny, I might add. There's nothing can hold you back with this determination. Whatever you do in life, you're determined whilst you're doing it. You're not half-hearted. You're not wishy-washy. You're not any of them things. You're going to get stuck in and get it done. Determination. Bear with me, and we'll go to the second arrow. Yeah. Right, arrow number 2, the arrow of spirituality. 3, 5, 7. It's the other side of the arrow. Now, you are born naturally spiritual. You'd have been very different when you were young at school. You might have been quiet and reserved. Inward. It's inward energy as opposed to outward energy. You're thoughtful, you're kind, you're beautiful in every way, and you're naturally spiritual. It's there. Now we'll move on to number 3. The arrow of intellect. 3, 6, 9. Already explained it with mine, but we'll go over it again. You are intellectual. You are always in your mind. You're an avid reader. You can think things through very clearly. Where others struggle, you often come up with plans so quickly. Where you think, oh, how do you think of that? That were real fast, I've been dwelling on that for days and you just come up with something quick. It's this, 369. Moving on, emotional balance. A 2, 5 and 8 in your date of birth gives you the arrow of emotional balance. Therefore, you never blow hot, you never blow cold, ever. You're balanced emotionally, counsellor, confident. It's this energy. You're never up there, you're never down there, you're always there. So you're apt to be working in counselling, or generally a very balanced person in a family who can sort out a lot of flux within a family. The next one is arrow of practicality. So it's a 1, a 4 and a 7 in your date of birth. So here we are. So this is grounded, it's down at the soil level. Building, decorating, anything to do. If you've got 1, 4 and a 7 in your date of birth, you don't need to phone anybody. You're hands-on completely. It's to do with gardening as well, landscaping, forest work. So practical, hands-on, build anything, mould anything, weld anything, you name it, bricklay anything, mortar anything, it's anything with your hands. So that's the practicality arrow there, down at the bottom, 1, 4 and 7. Now, the arrow of planning is next, 1, 2 and 3, we've seen it before in mine. So 1, 2 and 3 in your date of birth. You are a natural born planner. You don't have to think about planning. It comes naturally to you. You can make plans under the struggle around you. Say, oh, why couldn't I think of that? It's because you're born with planning. It's actually in your date of birth. So that's planning. Now, 4, 5 and 6, the arrow of will. Now, what I've always said about this arrow, anything you do, like around with your own personal health, weight loss or anything like that, you're a natural. You've got willpower. A lot of people struggle with willpower. You don't, because you've got the arrow of willpower. You're stoic in it. It's like, wow, powerful. And I applaud you for it, because not many people have got these numbers in their date of birth. So, stand happy with that willpower you've got, because I'd like that arrow myself personally. I'm envy of this one arrow. This one I do envy, because I would love stronger willpower myself, and you're born with it. Now, the next arrow is the arrow of activity. It's the 7, the 8 and the 9 in your date of birth. Now, this activity is mental activity, from the 9 up there in the air. Now, how can I explain that? Mental activity. If I said to that actual person, excuse me, so-and-so person, you've got 20 people coming to dinner tomorrow, they would do this. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, what time they're coming? 1? No problem. Mental jugglers, the arrow of activity. So that's with a 7, 8 and a 9 in your birthday. Nothing seems to faze you. Right, we'll move on now to the next arrow. The arrow of procrastination. That is missing numbers 1, 5 and 9. It moves there. You're missing 1, 5 and 9. Now, you're going to procrastinate more than others. Is this wrong or right? I don't know. You just might be more relaxed about things. So look at it as relaxation when you're procrastination. So you could look at it as a positive. Let's not be all negative on it. Maybe you need to procrastinate to get a final decision. You just take a lot longer, and people should accept this from you, from this video. you can show people that I said it's okay to procrastinate. Now, missing numbers of 3, 5 and 7, which would run that way. There. We now have the arrow of the enquirer. This means nosy. Nosy, yeah. There's nothing wrong with being nosy, because if you think about this, if you had a nosy neighbour and you've broken your leg whilst falling downstairs and they run for the emergency services, now it's a great thing to be nosy. Can you see? So it's not bad, although it gets a bad rap. Now, being in this birth line there, the enquiry, you could work in the police, you could work in other things of investigation, lines of investigation, shall I say, and you've got a naturally investigated mind. So use it carefully, and it can take you a long way, because you just know things. You just really look down, because look where you're looking down at the earth. Look from up there. If you look at the arrow, you're actually looking into something. So celebrate your arrow. Now we'll move on. The arrow of poor memory. Now, no 3, 6 and 9 at the top. That's empty. No 3, 6 and 9. Poor memory. Is it a bad thing to have a poor memory? No. What you need to do is get other people to remember, or write a lot down. You need to write it down. You're more than others. You need the written or typed into your phone. So if you've got a poor memory arrow, use your phone or a book, journal, and write it down, because you haven't got the mind numbers of 3, 6 and 9. It's not bad, you're just going to have to write more down or type more in. Okay? Moving on now to the next arrow. We've got the hypersensitivity arrow coming up. Now, so you've got no 2, 5 and 8 in the middle there. Them missing. Hypersensitivity. Now, let me explain it. It does not mean you are hypersensitive. No. It means that your gut feelings are hypersensitive. Therefore, you could be walking by, let's say, a pub or a restaurant, and your gut feeling will tell you not to go in there. It will say, no, we're not going in. That's hypersensitive. You could work in bomb disposal. You just know, you feel things very strongly. You feel other people's energies. You can feel often energy of the cat over the road. It's that strong. You know when things are going to happen. You're hypersensitive there in the gut feeling. So that's the missing numbers in the middle there. Now, missing numbers at the bottom. So 1, 4 and 7 missing out your date of birth there. Now you've got the arrow of impractical. Remember, we had the practical arrow with a 1, 4 and a 7 in your birthday. Now you've got 1, 4 and 7 missing. Impractical. How do you get around this? Easy. Phone a builder, phone a tiler, phone a landscaper. If you're not practical, you might be mentally astute. So you're not using your hands, use your head. So it's not a negative as such when you look deeply into it. So that's the impractical arrow there. You're missing the bottom line. Now, one of my favourites to explain. You've got no number 4, 5 and 6 there. The arrow of frustration. Let me explain it. I call it the nurse's arrow, because when I've done numerology for a nurse, they often have this arrow. Now, explain, this is a jacket, what they wear. It has 20 hooks on the back. These 20 hooks are took up by people. Let's just say this nurse is called Helen, right? So Helen goes into work on Monday morning in the hospital, and then all young nurses come up to Helen and say, my boyfriend did this, my cat did this, my mum did this, my uncle did this, my auntie did this. She collects problems, frustrations of other people. She goes and sits on a park bench to eat a lunch. Other people come and tell them their story. By dinner time, she's got 15 hooks. She goes home at night time, and then her children, look what happened at school, another hook full. So by the end of the day, they may well have 20 hooks full of frustrations hanging there. I always tell them to shake them all off to do this, but yeah, that's the arrow of frustration. No numbers running down the middle, the 4, the 5 and the 6. It's not a bad arrow, it's a powerful arrow, and you just learn to soak up other people's frustrations. Now moving on to the final arrow in the 16 before the 17, well, before the no arrow, shall I say. So the arrow of passivity. This is no number 7, 8 or 9 down that side there. So you're missing 7, 8 and 9. Now this will often be the case of children born after the year 2000. Not that there's anything wrong, but if you've got the arrow of passive, I will just say to you, don't let people walk over you or take advantage of you because you're passive and you're calm, because passivity is related to calmness as well. It's calm and centered and passive. So please, if anybody's got that date of birth in your family, just be mindful. You know, you might be superpowered with them other arrows and wondering why they're quiet and maybe recluse slightly. But it's not an affliction, it's actually how the arrows run in their date of birth. Thank you for listening, and